Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the President traveled to Detroit with the President of South Korea, dedicated the Martin Luther King Jr. National Memorial, embarked on a 3-day American Jobs Act bus tour, bestowed the Presidential Citizens Medal, and hosted the Norwegian Prime Minister. That's October 14th to October 20th, or right now.
They're going to have to come down and explain to you why they don't have an answer for how we're putting Americans to work right now.
On Friday, the President traveled to Detroit and invited his friend President Lee of South Korea. The two presidents heard from and spoke with workers who have benefited from the kind of job-creating initiatives supported by the recently approved trade agreement with South Korea.
That's exactly what this trade deal is all about.
2 years ago, this plant was set to be closed down, but as part of the President's decision to restructure GM and Chrysler, it entered into a joint venture with GM Korea to invest in U.S. manufacturing and to make the new Chevy Sonic subcompact car right here in America instead of in Korea. As a result, more than 1,700 good American jobs were saved.
2 years ago, it looked like this plant was going to have to shut its doors. All these jobs would have been lost. The entire community would have been devastated. So on a larger scale, the closer economic ties between the United States and Korea are going to lead to more jobs, more opportunity for both nations.
On a remarkable autumnal Sunday morning, the first family attended the dedication of the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial on the National Mall.
Nearly half a century has passed since that historic March on Washington. Look at the faces here around you, and you see an America that is more fair and more free and more just than the one Dr. King addressed that day. And so as we think about all the work that we must do, rebuilding an economy that can compete on a global stage, and fixing our schools so that every child, not just some, but every child gets a world-class education, and making sure that our healthcare system is affordable and accessible to all, and that our economic system is one in which everybody gets a fair shake and everybody does their fair share. We've got to keep pushing for what ought to be.
On Monday, October 17th, the President kicked off his 3-day American Jobs Act bus tour in North Carolina with a visit to Asheville Regional Airport, where he discussed the need to renovate airports like these through funding for airport infrastructure and modernization proposals included in the American Jobs Act, and put people back to work right now.
Those are the choices that members of Congress are going to face in the coming weeks. If they vote against taking steps that we know will put Americans back to work right now, then they're not going to have to answer to me. They're going to have to answer to you.
After winding through the Blue Ridge Mountains on a picturesque fall day, the President stopped in for barbecue in Marion, where he got to meet some of the community's 8,000 residents.
The food must be good. That's what I was told. That's why we stopped here. Because we decided we get some food. So what kind of food? I'm going to tell you to go. Maybe some sweet tea. It's so beautiful around here. It really is. It's one of my favorite parts of the country.
Next, it was on to Boone, home to Appalachian State University for Halloween candy and carrot cake.
But put like 3 quarts.
3 quarts? Include that cake.
I will. I can tell I will.
The President then stopped in Millers Creek, North Carolina, where he sat down for an interview with local reporter and Emmy Award winner Dave Wagner from WCNC Charlotte. The President then spoke to the students and faculty of West Wilkes High School about the proposals in the American Jobs Act that would support nearly 400,000 educator jobs and prevent teacher layoffs. The second day of the bus tour got underway with a visit to the Child Care Center at Guilford Technical Community College in Jamestown, North Carolina. There, the President participated in a roundtable on early childhood education in a classroom normally populated by 5- and 6-year-olds to talk about the school's needs.
I thought I was going to get one of those little chairs.
The President also conducted an interview with Jake Tapper from ABC's Nightline. Then he gave a speech about the need to put politics aside right now and put America back to work.
I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, because we're all Americans. And we are in this together. We don't need a Republican Jobs Act or a Democratic Jobs Act. We need a Jobs Act. We need to put people back to work right now.
The President then stopped in Reedsville, an all-American city, for an all-American lunch. And yes, he did seat himself.
You want me to pick up the chair?
He then greeted a group of Reedsvillians who had gathered outside, including one who was waiting on the phone.
Hi, Grandma. Hi. Granddaughter needs a new cell phone. You know, she's got one of these. She's got one of these big old ones.
The president then hit the road again, making his way to Skipwith, Virginia, and its Bluestone High School, where, much to the president's delight, he got to visit with their robotics class and meet Scrappy. The president then hopped off the bus in Broadnax, Virginia, at Patricia's Child Care Center to say hi to the tiny tots and other residents who gathered along the bus route. The last stop of the day was Greensville County High School in Emporia, Virginia, where the president continued to push for passage of the American Jobs Act, which would also help high schools across America to rehire the hundreds of thousands of teachers who've been laid off due to budget shortages in recent years.
I need all of you to tell the Senate, put those teachers back to work. Put those teachers back to work. Pass the jobs bill and put those teachers back to work.
At Greenville, he met Mina, the first girl to play for a junior varsity football team, who recently recorded 4 quarterback sacks in a game. She sat out her last game because the opposing team said they wouldn't play against a girl. The president, inspired, gave her some encouragement, and since she'd missed practice to come hear him speak, a note for her coach. On the third and final day of the bus tour, the First Lady joined the President at Langley Air Force Base in Hampton, Virginia, to discuss the importance of helping our veterans find a job when they return home from the battlefield. As part of her Joining Forces initiative, the First Lady also announced a major private sector commitment to hire 25,000 veterans and military spouses.
Now, this announcement is a huge deal, which is why the President's here. It's huge enough for you to even be involved.
As Michelle mentioned, back in August, I challenged America's businesses. Already they've committed to train or hire 25,000 veterans and spouses in the next 2 years.
The first couple then made their way to Woods Orchard Farm Stand, a 72-year-old local institution in Hampton, where they picked out Halloween pumpkins for the White House.
Is that enough? How many more are you going to buy?
Just down the street, they had lunch with 4 veterans at Anna's Pizza and Italian Kitchen. The president then visited a firehouse in North Chesterfield to stress the importance of keeping cops on the beat and firefighters on the job, before returning to Washington, D.C. and bidding a fond farewell to the road portion of this West Wing week. Meanwhile, the First Lady headed to St. Louis for Game 1 of the World Series, where she and Dr. Biden promoted community service efforts to support our men and women in the military and their families. Back at home on Thursday, the president spoke in the Rose Garden to the White House press corps about the breaking news reports in Libya.
Today we can definitively say that the Gaddafi regime has come to an end, and one of the world's longest-serving dictators is no more.
Then he awarded the Presidential Citizens Medal to 13 recipients of the nation's second highest civilian honor. Later, the Prime Minister of Norway arrived at the White House for a bilateral meeting with the President in the Oval Office. To find out more information on any of these topics, or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
These in the front of the White House, these 2 white ones. That's what the First Lady just decided, and I do what she says. So be on the lookout.
Stay married that way a long time.
Absolutely.